all good. You're all good. So who have we got now? Mai. Welcome.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thank you, Victoria. New Brighton is fantastic. I'm a lawyer, an entrepreneur and a mum. I'm relatively new to Christchurch. I've been here for about 4 years and I'm really grateful to be taking part in this democratic process. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I've lived in many cities around the world, around Asia, around Europe, London, Ho Chi Minh City. But when my partner and I settled down and had a child, we decided to settle in Christchurch. Why? You probably know the reason why. We love this beautiful city. We love the coastline. We love the hills, the mountain vistas. But most of all, we love the community spirit. It's big enough to give you access to all the urban delights, great restaurants, theatre, the arts, beautiful gardens, but also close enough and small enough to give you access to the beautiful outdoors. But the one thing that we really love is community, and that's really cemented since we've moved here, the amazing community that we've built around us and been involved in. So as councillors, I imagine that you must be super proud to be sitting there, privileged in the position that you are to make these decisions today for us. But I am concerned about our community, and I am concerned about the future of Christchurch. The challenges for council is how to make life affordable and financially sustainable, not just for us today, but for our children tomorrow. I think it's outrageous that you can possibly increase rates anywhere near in double digits in times where people can barely afford to live each day. Many people I know have not had a pay increase in the last few years. And certainly with inflation at the level that it is, what that means is everyone's actually received a pay cut. I wonder, councillors, whether you know what happens when you don't return a library book to one of the local libraries. Now, you know we've removed library fines, but if you happen to be a busy mum like I am, and you actually forget to return the library book, after about 8 weeks you get a notice in the mail, and they charge you about $60 for a book. Now, if you're still really busy, as most of us are, and you forget to respond to that, do you know what happens? Yeah, you get sent to a debt collector. It's completely out of your control, councillors. It gets handed to a third party and that debt collector chases you. So what happens if people can't afford these rate rises? Do you have control over what happens to that debt collection process? The council website says in relation to overdue rates, if a suitable arrangement cannot be made to pay the arrears, council will consider other means to collect the outstanding debt. This can include contacting the mortgage holder or other debt collection methods. Other debt collection methods, what does that mean? I know what that could potentially mean as a lawyer. Can you, councillors, guarantee that people won't lose their assets and won't lose their homes if they're unable to pay the increased rates? If you cannot guarantee that, then you have no mandate. You have no mandate to increase rates. You have a difficult job, I acknowledge that. And I want to remind you of your oath of office when you took that office as councillor to represent us. In that oath, you swore to serve faithfully and impartially. What does that look like? It looks like challenging assumptions. It looks like asking questions to challenge your experts. The LTP makes assumptions, quite extensive assumptions, around things like the environment, water. As a lawyer, I'm often in court, where there are usually at least 2 parties at the table, sometimes more. And each side, as they present to the court, present their own experts. They're diametrically opposite, and yet we have experts standing up, arguing each side. And the case that usually wins is the case that has decisions made based on trust of intuition and logic. So trust the experts is no longer a thing, councillors, because we can get experts to speak at both sides of the table. So what do you need to do as elected representatives? How do you discharge your duties to act faithfully and impartially? Trust your intuition, use your logic. For example, leaving aside the exorbitant amount of spending of $15 million proposed on new chlorination equipment, the question should be not whether we spend $15 million or more or less. The question should be this. About 6 weeks ago, my 6-year-old daughter had a bath using local Christchurch water. Today, 6 weeks later, she still has welts all over her legs caused by a reaction to that chlorine. I'm a mum. I don't need an expert's report to tell me that that chlorine is poisoning her. And if it's poisoning her legs and her skin, what is it doing to all of our insides when we drink that water? Challenge the assumptions. Listen to all the views. Make a decision based on logic and intuition. What's another example of how you can discharge your duty faithfully and impartially? The LTP assumes that there is an impending climate crisis. I remember sitting cross-legged on red carpet in a classroom many years ago in my primary school years and being told that fossil fuels were creating an impending climate crisis. Guess what? That was almost 40 years ago. I had to ask myself, I had to trust my intuition. Is there an impending crisis? Where is it? Trust your intuition and use your logic, councillors. But ultimately, councillors, your duty is to act for the people and to represent the people. It can in no way be a faithful discharge of your duties to increase rates without consent where people cannot afford to pay. I invite you to take this opportunity bestowed on you in this seat, this privileged seat that you're sitting on as elected representatives, to keep this city amazing. I invite you to be more creative in your approach, raise funds to finance your spending, sure, but think of other ways to do it. You've got some great entrepreneurs on council.
Thank you very much. Now, Melanie put her hand up real early. Do you want a question?
Thank you very much. Well, the example with the chlorine is an interesting one. The way I heard you talk about that, I just wondered as a lawyer if you were suggesting to council to ignore our legal responsibilities when we're required to do that kind of thing. 'Cause that's what it sounded a little bit like.
I would never say that you should ignore your responsibilities. I'm saying listen to all views. Okay, so what you need to do is go back and consider this responsibility based on the basis that you should be chlorinating the water. Go back and challenge that view. Listen to other views on why the water is being chlorinated.
Okay.
And then make that decision.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? You guys still represent the residents. You stand up to central government and you tell them you don't agree to have your residents poisoned.
Yep. Point taken. Thank you very much for the time you've taken. Is